How was I supposed to know that the young man who helped me set up my new coffee machine would walk into my home and suddenly I'd see my private items, my toys and some very intimate clothing, sitting on the couch? And from that moment on, everything changed. I had been alone, but that morning, all I wanted was a coffee maker. Thanks to the guy from the store, today I'm not alone. Who could have predicted that this inexperienced boy would cross my path and shift everything in such an unforeseen way? Let me start from the beginning. I'm 60 years old, divorced for 15 years, and I've lived alone ever since. Naturally, I had my own moments and belongings, things that were just mine. I used them often, so often that I stopped noticing when I left them lying around, right there, in the middle of the living room. Maybe it was routine, or maybe it was how I coped with solitude. Either way, that morning felt just like any other. My only plan was to buy a coffee maker and continue on with my day. But Jake, the young man who offered to help, changed everything. The second I opened the door and let him in with the box, I had no idea that this ordinary day was about to shift into something unexpected. Jake was 23, full of warmth, excitement, and energy as he stepped into my home carrying the coffee maker. His eyes scanned the room, taking in every detail. That's when his attention caught on something: my toys, and the very personal pieces of clothing I had left right there on the couch. I was so used to having them around, I didn't even think twice. To me, they blended into the space like any other normal thing. Jake gave a subtle smile as he stepped toward the living room and said, "You live alone, don't you?" His voice held a teasing kind of curiosity. I felt my face flush instantly. It was so sudden, so awkward. I wasn't ready for it. He was just here to set up a coffee machine. These were things I never shared. My loneliness was mine alone. I had no plans of letting someone else witness it. "Jake, please, let's just pretend none of this is here," I said softly, my voice trembling. It felt like something fragile inside me had just shattered. Jake looked at me and offered a small smile. "Whatever you say," he replied. "But you know, stuff like this is hard to ignore. They sort of demand attention, just like you do." My face went even hotter. I turned away and said, quietly, "Jake, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more stories like this. I know this one will leave you with something to say. Let's talk below." I tried to deflect, but Jake's warmth didn't fade. He continued in that same kind, genuine way. "It's totally natural to have these things when you live alone," he said, his eyes now sparkling with something deeper. "We all have needs, but sometimes this stuff just isn't enough, is it?" The way he emphasized the last words, there, was something meaningful beneath them. Something more. He was reaching for connection, bold, yet soft. Our eyes met for a few seconds, and in that brief space of time, something shifted. A spark. A quiet tension filled the room. I felt Jake's gaze, resting on me, warm and steady. Each word he spoke landed deeper within me, until suddenly I understood. This wasn't ordinary. This was different. Jake said, "I felt it the first time you walked in asking about the coffee maker." There was something intense in his voice. "You gave me a feeling I can't really explain." I paused, uncertain how to respond. What could I even say? My emotions were everywhere, impossible to organize. But it was clear. I couldn't fight what I felt. "You gave me something too," I said with a faint smile. "If not, I wouldn't have let you help me or invited you in today." That was what I said, but inside, I knew there was more. Jake had gotten inside me mind somehow. The way he moved, spoke, looked. Everything was relaxed, yet captivating. My eyes kept drifting toward him despite myself. I couldn't help it. After a pause, I finally said, I've been in these jeans and shirt all day. They're driving me crazy. I'm gonna change into something comfortable. Make yourself at home." Jake's eyes stayed on me. I tried to look away but struggled. I felt pulled to him. Every second, the distance between us seemed to shrink. Upstairs, I slipped into a sleek, body-hugging spaghetti strap dress. I touched up my makeup just slightly and headed for the kitchen. As I descended, I noticed Jake by the living room door. His eyes, intentionally or not, were fixed on me. For a moment, I froze, letting my thoughts swirl around. All right, I thought, a quiet smile forming. This young man's intentions are becoming clearer. Feels like I've just hit the jackpot, doesn't it? Let's see where this goes. I let the thought linger while pretending not to notice his gaze. I took a small step toward him, playful now. "Jake," I said with a lifted brow, teasing, "are you single? Got someone waiting at home? Or do you spend your evenings alone?" As I watched his expression shift, something lit up inside me. We stood so close now, and every little word, every shift, felt like it carried a deeper charge. When I saw his eyes flicker with curiosity and that boyish smile return, I almost forgot what I was saying. "If you finish setting that machine up," I offered gently, "how about we make some coffee, and you can tell me more about yourself?" My voice was soft, but I felt a flutter beneath each word. As I stepped nearer, warmth started to rise within me, each glance from him pulling me closer. Jake sat down, shifting in the chair awkwardly, as if unsure what to do next. I moved in, dragging my chair next to his until our elbows nearly touched. My skirt inched up, barely a few centimeters, but I noticed. So did he. His gaze rose slowly, halting just before meeting my eyes. I could feel his attention, quiet but steady. I offered a small smile and crossed my legs casually, resting one arm over the chair's back. "Did you get tired of waiting for this?" I teased, lightening the moment, though the air between us had grown warm and close. Jake flushed slightly but kept his eyes steady. "How old are you?" he asked, voice caught somewhere between surprise and admiration. I laughed. "You thought I was 50? I asked with an arched brow, amused and oddly flattered. His gaze flickered with uncertainty. "That's not what I meant," he said quickly. "You look amazing, really young, and beautiful." His words settled in the air like a soft echo. It felt a spark of confidence, though a small part of me tensed at our nearness. Something was shifting quickly, and I wasn't sure where it would go. I took a breath and asked again, "So, no girlfriend? You're alone? How do your nights usually go?" My curiosity was laced with something deeper. Anticipation, maybe. Jake's voice dropped. "I'm alone," he said, his eyes still locked with mine. And I believed him, not just in words but in spirit. It was the kind of aloneness someone doesn't want to admit. But it was there. We held each other's gaze a moment longer, and I could sense his vulnerability. Inside me, something stirred and took shape. "I don't think that's how tonight ends," I said gently, my voice more sure, more grounded. Every syllable landed with purpose. "Jake, come," I added, softer now, eyes guiding him toward the hallway. I turned without looking back, but I knew he was following. I heard his quiet steps, his breath just a little less even. In the bedroom, he paused by the door. His stance was a little tight, unsure, but I could see focus in his eyes. I turned to face him fully, reading that mix of nerves and eagerness. "Jake, are you ready?" I asked gently. I stepped toward him and gave a small, assuring smile. "I've got experience," I said, letting my tone ease his worry. "There's no need to be nervous." I placed a hand on his shoulder. The contact seemed to soften his tension while stirring something deeper inside him. His energy, fresh, unfiltered, met the calm I had cultivated over time. I slowly slipped one strap from my shoulder, then the other, letting the fabric slide down with ease. Jake's eyes didn't wander. They focused, drawn in with a kind of wonder. My expression remained soft, steady. I stepped closer. The silence held us like a thread of something unspoken. My fingers gently brushed his cheek, and I waited. Jake leaned in with care. There was a pause, then a kiss. His lips met mine with both boldness and restraint. It was earnest, tinged with something new. That sweet inexperience somehow pulled me in even more. After a second, I drew back, walking slowly to the bed. I lowered myself onto it with quiet grace, the cool fabric beneath me pulling a shiver from deep inside. And still, he watched. The anticipation inside me kept growing as I looked over at Jake. He was still standing there, unsure, caught between impulse and hesitation. "Jake," I said softly, motioning to the empty space beside me, my fingers brushing gently across the bed. "Come here. There's nothing to be afraid of." Slowly, cautiously, he moved closer and lay down beside me. For a moment, it felt like we were both holding our breath. The room felt quieter, the air heavier. I turned toward him, rested a hand lightly on his chest, and asked in a low voice, "Have you ever thought about a moment like this? Imagined it?" He didn't look away. "More than imagined it," he said, his voice low and a little shaky. "But I never thought it would actually happen." In that moment, the space between what-ifs and reality disappeared. It wasn't just physical, it was emotional too. Whatever we were stepping into, it felt honest and real. I didn't know exactly where this was going, but the thrill of being here with him was something I hadn't felt in a long time. I sat up slowly, eyes never leaving his. Then I stood and leaned slightly toward him from the edge of the bed, letting the closeness build. His expression flickered with surprise and anticipation. "Jake," I said, my voice soft but steady. "Tonight, neither of us has to feel alone." He swallowed hard but didn't look away. His silence said more than words could. I stepped in closer, cupping his face gently in my hands. "Let's just live this moment," I whispered. "Don't overthink it. Don't be afraid." His breathing quickened, but he didn't retreat, not even for a second. In that quiet, we found something rare: comfort, connection, and the sudden sense that this was where we were meant to be. Jake lifted his hands to my waist with a mix of boldness and uncertainty. That hesitation, the vulnerability of it, made it all feel more real. My own breath caught in my throat. I could feel the gravity of what we were sharing. "Jake," I whispered again, fingers gently brushing his cheek. This feeling, it's overwhelming and beautiful." His gaze stayed locked on mine. "I feel the same," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "It's just happening so fast. It's strong. I've never felt anything like this before." A soft smile spread across my face as I leaned in, pressing a light kiss to his forehead. "Sometimes," I murmured, "the best moments happen when you stop thinking and just feel." He was quiet for a second, then let his hand slide up gently, drawing me closer. The space between us vanished, and our connection deepened, not just in proximity, but in emotion. Afterward, we lay there in a silence that didn't feel empty. It felt full, whole. Jake's arms were wrapped around me, grounding me, warming me. My head rested on his chest, where I could hear the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, a sound that somehow felt both comforting and electric. Without realizing it, I traced small circles against his skin. Jake let out a long, quiet breath. "Brittany," he said in a voice that was low, honest, and a little stunned. "I've never felt so calm, so at peace." I smiled softly, not looking up. "Really?" I murmured. "Yeah, really," he replied, one of his hands sliding slowly to my back, pulling me a little closer. "I think I've been chasing something all my life. I just never knew. It might be this. Just being here. With you." His words touched something deep inside me. I stayed there, eyes closed, just listening to the rhythm of his breathing, and the way the room felt warmer now. "Jake," I said quietly, "just being next to you makes me feel something I haven't felt in a very long time. Something real." He ran his fingers slowly through my hair, and I could feel the smile on his lips. I guess we gave each other exactly what we needed. I lifted my head just enough to meet his eyes. There was a quiet relief in his expression, like he'd finally exhaled after holding everything in for so long. "Then let's just leave it like this," I said. "Let's soak in this moment." Jake nodded without speaking. We stayed there, wrapped up in the hush of the room, surrounded by something that felt peaceful and alive. Outside, the night seemed to slow down for us. The quiet, the light, the stillness. It all felt like it belonged to just us. As I laid my head back down, I let my eyes close and felt a thought slip into my mind. Uninvited, but welcome. What if I asked him to stay? What if this house, these quiet rooms, the long evenings that used to echo with solitude, what if they could become something warmer, brighter? A place with laughter, a place with him. I didn't know what the future would hold. I didn't need to. But I knew this wasn't the end of our story. It was just the beginning. So if you've made it this far, I know this moment must have touched you in some way. There's more to share, more chapters, more heart, more surprises. If you're curious to see what happens next, hit that follow button, turn on notifications, and tell me what you think in the comments. Let's keep this story going, together.